All right, Fallout fam. It is time again for the end of the month patron chat episode, and I am back with our usual what's the word for words fell out of my brain again. You know when you have a bunch of people, a lineup when you like call them out and you're like, oh, that person did the crime, man, that's the guy right there. We've got our usual cast of villains here. Thank you everybody for joining me again. That didn't work. I was like, it's a thing, and it's not a thing. So here, I'm just going to go through and welcome everybody back for this episode. I'm just going to go down the list alphabetically. Deadshot, welcome back. How's it going, buddy? Howdy. Simple, fast, simple, and he's playing on the Switch. And then we also have Firewriter. Hi, welcome back. Hello. And Noonimer.
Would you say we're a motley crew?
A motley crew, yes. A motley crew. Yeah, that could work. I don't have any Motley Crue songs that just spring to mind automatically, but I was going to quote one, and then it didn't happen. Man, I guess I need to get more sleep. And then we also have Saver. Saver, welcome back.
Olo.
Also joining us again, Soybean, how's it going? Leaning in to the camera. Oh, camera turned off. I don't know if that was intentional or if there's technical difficulties happening there. Soybean just disappeared. Soybean's coming back. In the meantime, we're going to say hi to Mothman's Ranger, who has a slightly different name today. Mothman, how's it going?
It's going good. Going good.
Good. Why is your name Salesman now? Mothman Salesman. Is this a joke I missed on Discord?
I've a very extended DM conversation between me and Dead. Ended up in it began with a joke, and then I just kind of changed the name while he was sleeping because I wanted to mess with him when he woke up, and now it's still this.
Okay. Interesting. And then Victor, welcome back, Victor.
Hello. And I think the phrase you were looking for is the usual suspects.
Usual suspects, that would work. That would work as well. We have the usual suspects back. I hope Soybean's internet is working.
I will say it might on their end, because I've been having I've been noticing weird connectivity myself with the servers, so who knows?
Nobody knows. So
hello, sorry.
Hello, there you are. You're back.
Discord's been acting up today and yesterday for me a bit, so
yeah, it happens. If anybody happens to drop out, just try to join back. We'll do the best we can in order to facilitate this, because it's always a little bit of a kind of a crapshoot, and that makes me think of poop. All right, so welcome back, and we are live as usual. This is a Sunday night, so instead of Monday nights, which are our usual time, we usually do our patron chats on Sunday nights because it works better for everybody. And we are here on twitch.tv/robotsradio to discuss our favorite non-companion NPCs, which opens up the list a ton because there's only so many companions, and we've talked about companions. I've talked about companions. These guys have talked about companions. But now we have this discussion open to any of the non-companion NPCs across all of the Fallout games, and which ones happen to be your favorites or are just worth talking about in this episode of the show. And we're doing kind of a random number generator thing here going, and Noonimer got the first roll. So Noonimer, why don't you go ahead and start us out?
All right. Well, the person I'm picking is someone who, no surprise here, is from Fallout 76. And with the Wastelanders edition, with the Settlers and the Raiders, there were a lot of very interesting NPCs, none of which could be companions besides the few that were introduced. So the way I'm kind of thinking of this person isn't a companion yet, because I do see a lot of potential within Fallout 76 that some of these companions might be, or some of these characters might be snatched up and made into companions or follow you on certain quests down the road. So that'd be great. And I know a lot of people like this character, so that'd be great if it ever actually did happen. And that character I'm talking about is Weasel. Who I've talked about briefly on the podcast before when I was talking about 76. Or specifically about Wastelanders. And you meet her Now, she does accompany you during a quest. She's not a companion in the traditional sense. She doesn't follow you after that. You can't give her commands or trade equipment with her, anything like that. So
Right.
she really just does follow along on that one quest, which is Cheating Death, which is part of the Raiders end of the Wastelanders DLC. And I'm not going to spoil that quest, because that quest is a very cool quest. Has some interesting twists and developments in that, but the main plot of the quest is that you're looking for a guy named Lucky Lou. And along the way, you meet Weasel, who's a member of the Raiders, the Crater Raiders, the Raiders as the faction, the Crater Raiders.
That's funny. I never thought about how that rhymes. That's
Crater Raiders.
Crater Raiders.
I don't like saying that too many times. So anyway, let's move on. But yeah, so she's a raider. The friendlier, nicer Appalachian raiders. And but the thing that's interesting about her is she actually used to be a Blood Eagle. Now, one of the interesting things about her is that she has no voice.
Mm-hmm.
When she was one of the Blood Eagles, she had ratted on somebody, thus the name Weasel, and as a result, they had used a red hot poker, content warning here, to burn out her voice box. So she has no voice; she cannot speak. But with joining Crater, they met her, they liked her, and they knew, being raiders themselves, when they saw the burn mark on her, they knew exactly what that was and why she got burnt. So they called her Weasel. So literally her name is because of her reputation and what happened in her past. And so they like her, though, and they welcome her in despite, knowing what happened in the past. And the thing about that, though, is that when you meet her, she does have sort of the ability to speak, where she has a vocal box, a mechanical vocal box on her neck.
Mm-hmm.
And that vocal box was created by none other than everybody's favorite Amish raider, Caleb, who is the interesting thing about Caleb. Despite the fact that he was raised as an Amish person, he not only becomes a raider, but also becomes their head technology person. He's an inventor, and he's
kind of ironic.
With technology. Yeah, and he's always complaining about everybody's giving him the work to do because he's so good with technology. But anyway, so he, if people remember the quest, some people have it pretty heavily bugged where they can't really complete it, but someone to talk to, where you get the Vox Stringer that allows you to hear animals speak.
Mm-hmm.
And that device was created by a scientist named Eddie, or an inventor named mad scientist, I guess, Eddie Harrison, who invented that. And so what Caleb did was he used that Vox technology to create this vocal,
vocalizer.
necklace.
Yeah.
Vocalizer,
yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, it's right on her neck, and it sort of looks like a slave collar, where it has like the red light. And the funny thing, now this is where the humor of her character comes in. The funny thing is she's kind of your stereotypical tough as nails raider person. She wants to swear and say sarcastic things and be angry and all this. But because of the technology that her vocal box is based on, she can't swear or say anything especially rude, and it's replaced with other phrases and things. So it's a very funny dynamic, and her struggling to be mean and to say something nasty or swear is just, you really feel her frustration, but at the same time it's and this is kind of the
So real quick, side note, I think this is really funny, just to jump in. The same thing happens if you donate on the stream and you use bad words, and it reads out the bad words. It replaces them with like bananas or monkey pants or something else. Yeah. So anyway, I think that's hilarious to like replace bad words with other things that are just kind of funny or random. That's great.
Yeah, and it's a little, it could be problematic where the source of the humor here is someone who was tortured and someone who lost their voice due to a malformity. but she's very aware of it, and she's referencing it, and she's sort of trying to overcome it and get around it. So there's a lot of story potential with her if they ever did make her a companion. But there was, when thinking about the tone of her character, I thought about this as a great example of something that's often debated and has been talked about on this show before, which is the difference in writing between Obsidian and Bethesda, specifically in the sense of humor department. Because when comparing Weasel with, say, for instance, with Christine, who has also been talked about on the show before, and how that plot is treated with Christine is treated much more seriously. It's a source of drama. It's a sort of a source of tension, whereas a very similar, different, mind you, but similar story is in a Bethesda game played for laughs. And it's interesting how you have dark humor, in which I think this almost goes against some of those stereotypes, where you do have that dark humor that Fallout's known for, and Bethesda, in my opinion, really nailing it, where they're taking a scenario that would be something that would exist in raider culture and turning it into this sort of, and that quest itself overall is very dark, and even elements of that quest are played off sort of for laughs, even though they're very dark, very serious subject matter. But I think it's done with a careful hand, and I think it's done with a good tone. I don't think it's oversteps his bounds or anything like that. But regardless, she's an awesome character, and I'm looking for her. I can't find, ever since the end of that quest, you're supposed to be able to find her around different places, and I can't find her. So if anybody can give me any tips to misconnections here now for me to reconnect with Weasel, because I miss her and I want to hang out with her and say hi again, and I haven't seen her since the quest, and I'm actually saving replaying this quest just because I love this character so much with my second character. I'm anticipating that moment of meeting her again and with my second character. So, but she's awesome.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I don't think I've gone and looked for her either since after the quest. I need to jump in and do that. Maybe I'll do that after the show tonight and see if I can figure out where she is. So can we are you ready to open this up to everyone else?
Yeah.
Do you guys who else has had experiences and played through this part of 76? Who would like to chime in? Anybody?
Sure.
I would. Oh,
sorry.
Go ahead, Fire. You start.
I was just going to say, yeah, I've done that part of the quest, and she caught my eye as well immediately. She's just a really memorable character, and I totally agree that she could be like this super tragic story, but they were able to kind of turn it around and make her really likable. And I was saying in the Twitch chat, the way she curses reminds me of like on The Good Place, where you say mother forking and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or what was the Michael Keaton gangster film with there was one of the gangsters that would say farging ice ball, ice hole, farging ice hole, and things like that. Do you remember this? No. Johnny Dangerously? Was that
Dangerously.
it? Oh my gosh!
You beat me.
Yeah. Farging ice hole. And he would say, there was another one he would say. I don't remember. It was pretty good. Yeah. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Weasel? I know somebody else chimed in. Who else was it?
Well,
Mothman?
Yeah. So when I did, it was the quest. I believe, it was the quest to get Lou for the Raiders putting together the heist. And it was actually Weasel that almost convinced me not to side with the settlers on my main.
Oh, wow.
Just because I enjoyed her character so much, and like the way, and I loved the cadence and how the voice was done. Like it's just so good. That's just what I wanted to say. Like, such a good character.
Yeah, it was a good, a bit of a change of pace from the other Raiders, because the other Raiders were all like, we're Raiders, and screw you, why should we trust you, and all, like that kind of stuff, and it kind of broke the typical patterns that you deal with these Raiders being tough guys who don't know if they should trust you and all that stuff. So it was a nice change of pace.
I want to say I kind of disagree with that about the Crater Raiders. I found all of them, most of them, really likable compared to other games and other raiders. I had no problem justifying my second playthrough having my guy go with the raiders because it made sense to me that he would, because they all treated him really well, whereas every time he'd go to Foundation, Ward would be all surly and cranky, so it made perfect sense to me. He's a people pleaser.
Yeah, I've noticed when you get your rep higher with the raiders, they actually become a lot nicer than some of the settlers.
Yeah, and I think too, like, not to put words in Tom's mouth, but like some of the raiders you meet that are just like, the vendors or the people walking around Crater, they're very much your stereotypical
kind of
gruff, surly raiders, and then as you meet the different characters like Rara or Gale or different people like that, you start to see that variety and flavor. But I think like in the path of that story where you start to kind of understand that this is like a very dysfunctional, weird family of raiders, Weasel is kind of, to me, the first sign of that. It's the first sign that you kind of are like, these guys are kind of cool. Like, these guys are different, And so that's another reason why I thought she was so awesome.
Yeah, I think that's a good summary. Up until that point, they're kind of surly. And I think you're right. That's the point at which you really start to see more into what they're like.
In a way. Yeah. In a way, I kind of see that in Lou, too. Because, like, he's a broken man. Like, it hurt when I talked to him the first time. I was like, no, you're beautiful. I mean, that might just be my bias towards loving ghouls, but, like, it's like, no, you're not a monster. You're a beautiful, beautiful person.
I have to wonder, all this ghoul love in our little community here, if you were to meet one of these people in real life and see, like, the decomposed skin, and so some people can deal with like medicine and injuries and be a doctor or like a surgeon, these kinds of things, because they don't have like a natural gut reaction of just like, oh God, I can't look at that. But some people do. And I find it to be a very natural thing that for some people it's just subconscious. You just can't, even a small wound on somebody else, you're just like, oh, can't deal with blood, can't look at that, can't do it. Would you guys?
The dumb lizard brain.
Yeah, it's very deep inside our brains. It's not something you choose, right? Would you feel like you could see a ghoul and actually relate to them and be okay with that?
Personally, I feel like I definitely could. First off, to hopefully not be too graphic about it, but my mother is a breast cancer survivor, and part of that was an entire left side mastectomy. Mm-hmm. And my father was too squeamish to be able to assist. When you have that much of your body removed, they have to put in drains so that you don't fill up with fluid and you don't cause infection. It's part of the healthy healing process. My father was too squeamish to do it. I helped my mom take care of her drains and change her bandages.
Yeah.
And over the years, as she's gotten issues with her feet due to her diabetes, I've helped with that. I'm also subscribed to places like r/medical gore on subreddit. On Reddit.
Okay. That obviously doesn't affect you too much.
I think that my fellow ghoul lovers can agree with me. It's not what they look like. I mean,
yeah. I completely understand. It's the personalities, it's their struggles, it's all of that. The question though is like coming face to face with somebody whose face looks like it's melted off every day. Is that something that you would just get used to and be okay with, or is it something that you might just be too squeamish to actually deal with in reality?
I would have a first reaction of, oh boy.
Yeah, but like, oh, that guy doesn't have a face anymore.
I'm in the same boat with Vic in the reaction part. Like, I'd be like, oh, okay, and then I would kind of just get used to it.
Right.
I was going to say, so back on the 76 thing, I have not actually played 76. However, from what you're describing with the Raiders, especially when you compare them to Raiders of Fallout 3, New Vegas, 4, especially the Raiders in the Pit, they retain part of that, of the old world pre-war charm of honor among thieves.
Yes. This Raider group does. Yes.
and I think that's because it is so close to the Great War, and they still have a much closer connection to pre-war America compared to baseball was beating each other up with bats.
Sure, and possibly the Blood Eagles haven't retained that. I think it's just one of those things that is very dependent on each Raider gang and the culture within that Raider gang, and who their leader is and what their motivation is. I think it comes down to personalities and goals, and how desperate they are. There's a lot that can affect that, and maybe they become more desperate as they get further from the Great War. That might be a thing. Well, cool. Well, Nunimer, we need to move on. Is there anything else you want to say about Weasel before we move on?
Nope. I just hope we get more of her at some point. That'd be awesome.
Awesome.
Weasel is awesome.
Awesome. All right, let's move on to the Mothman's Ranger / salesman. And who do you have this week? You were the next person on the random number generator.
Oh, wow. That took me off guard completely. All right.
Yep, it's going to be random. Surprise.
All right. Well, so I was thinking about it, and a lot of the characters that first came to mind for me were just kind of like more of the more popular characters, like more known about. And so the more I think about it, my level ghouls, I decided to go with Wiseman from the Slog and Fallout 4.
Okay. Now, remind us about who this is and what they do. Everybody knows the story of Hancock and the ghouls getting exiled from Diamond City. Mm-hmm. And Wiseman is a leader of a small group of those ghouls who decided that they weren't going to go with Hancock and the other ghouls to Good Neighbor. They decided that they were going to go and just try and make their own place somewhere. And they came across I can't remember what the exact name of the ghoul public pool is, but they just came across a public pool and decided that this was where they were going to make their home. And what really struck me and what really made me like them a whole lot is just the wise man's philosophy about changing the minds of others. He unlike most ghouls who are kind of just not hateful, but just a little bit rude to smoothskins, just because the smoothskins are rude to them all the time. Sure.
The wise man, like when you first go there as a sole survivor, because I literally did this first initial meeting with him right a few hours before we did this, just so I could refresh my memory. When you first meet the Wiseman, he just straight up goes, "Hi, how you doing? This is my place. You're welcome to stay if you want to." And that is like the essence of what I like to see in a person in a bad situation. Like, that is the most, just the most wholesome thing to me. And he just got together all those other not ruined, but just hated upon ghouls and set up their own little community. And they've gotten their own famousness, I guess, in the Commonwealth of being the only place you can grow tarberry, which I find just absolutely awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's a really interesting perspective on all that. It's not something that comes to mind when I think about other NPCs.
Yeah. And then just the Slog itself is just a great little place. Because what I've done one time is I focused for one playthrough on building up settlements, and I set up this crazy looking little village in the Slog at one point. Because I have a no build limit mod. And so I set up this beautiful general store in the main pool building, and then I built houses next to the crop fields and everything for each of the little ghouls, and I custom and after talking to them for a little bit, I just kind of designed it in a way that I think they would like.
Nice. So, you get a house, you get a little house, you can have a garden over here, you get a pool or whatever.
Wiseman had a town hall looking thing that I loved building that.
Oh, nice. So you had your own little gated community for ghouls.
Yeah. It's Covenant for ghouls.
That's awesome. You ready to open this up to everyone else?
Yeah.
Do you guys, any of the rest of you guys have any thoughts on this or any memories of this specific NPC? No. I don't think anyone else does. Victor?
Well, I was going to say, let Fire get online because she may have something to say. I just wanted to state that one of the things I really like about Fallout 4 in particular is while we had... Oh gosh, I can never remember the name of that ghoul bar that's slightly underground in Fallout 3. like the Ninth Circle, it's called, or something.
Yeah. Yes. Was it the Ninth Circle?
I want to say it is.
I feel like it might be.
Fire City.
However, okay.
Yeah, Fire would know. Fire would know.
My lord, checking my lore. The Fallout 4 has not just communities of non-humans, but varied communities of non-humans. Because, I mean, for example, just look at the Slog. The Slog could not be more different from Good Neighbor, but both of them are havens for ghouls.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that in the, hopefully upcoming more Bethesda games, more Fallout games, that we see more of a variety of places for non-human characters to be able to both interact with humans and also live independently. I want to see, I want to see them continue to expand upon ghouls and synths and androids and super mutants, so that they aren't all one-note characters with weird one-off exceptions.
Sure.
Like super mutants in Fallout New Vegas, and then you've got Nana, I think it's her name, or Lily. Lily's a grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Super.
Yeah.
So seeing Wiseman and seeing all of the ghouls in Fallout 4, it gives me a lot of hope to see a lot more variety of non-human characters going forward, of all kinds of personality types being represented. And I think that Wiseman and the entirety of the Slog is a good example, because if I remember right, mostly for 3 in New Vegas, they're primarily kind of grifter, rough side of the tracks kind of people, and in the Slog, they're just trying to be farmers.
Right. Yeah, and this is a tradition that I've noted this in some of the episodes I was doing with Fallout 1, that there are themes that keep coming back up. And this is the theme that was started in Fallout 1 with the Necropolis, this idea of a ghoul settlement where they are all just trying to live their lives and do what they need to do because they've been ostracized, and so they're banding together and they're doing what they need to do. So yeah, I can imagine that. And the other note is, and I've said this numerous times, I would love the option to make a ghoul character or a super mutant or a synth on some sort of future expansion. So I do know some of the people at Bethesda listen to this podcast. So guys, nudge, 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 nudge. Maybe future updates 76, we can make various types of characters. Maybe. I don't know that you could have a synth though. I think those don't really make sense that early in the timeline, but maybe you could have a robot or something. I don't know. There'd be some cool stuff we could do with those.
I straight up modded Fallout New Vegas to allow me to create a ghoul. At that point, I was just like, I'm playing this for the first time with the ghoul, and nobody can stop me.
Yeah, just like, this is it. I'm gonna do it.
Pretty much.
Well, cool. Anything else you want to add, Mothman?
Just that. Arlen Gloss, I think his name, is also definitely. I was on the tip between those two, Wiseman or Arlen, and I don't think anybody's talking about Arlen, but definitely check out Arlen if you don't know who he is. He's in the Slog.
Go visit the Slog. Slog on over to the Slog.
North of Argus Ironworks or something. I don't remember what the place is called.
Yeah,
the Raider place north the Forged is what they're called. Yeah,
I'm sure you can look it up. There's maps for everything. Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing that one. Very interesting topic, especially when it comes to, obviously popular with ghouls and all that. Let's move on to, let's see, I got a number 4 here on the generator. So that's Soybean. Let's see, is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Saber. It's Saber. Saber, you're next. How's it going?
All right. I'm talking about Scott Wolinski, also known as Bean. I'll get to that in a minute.
Uh-huh.
But most people know him as the Mechanist from Fallout 3.
Not the Fallout 4 expansion Mechanist, the Fallout 3 Mechanist. And some people who have played Fallout 4 may not realize that there's a Fallout 3 Mechanist also. So, cool stuff.
Yeah, so he was born to simple bean farmers. And he was sold to a caravan. And I am lagging horrendously on this video.
It's okay.
But he was sold at 15 to a caravan, and how they sold him for beans. So that's how he got his nickname. And he bought his way out, obviously, of service, and Eventually, he settled down in Canterbury Commons, where he lived a life of solitude and in an electronics store, fiddling with parts and stuff. He didn't become the Mechanist until after the Antagonizer. Am I saying this correctly?
I believe so, yes.
Started showing up, and then he became the local hero to protect the town.
I loved this this little side quest. This was great. I remember discovering it. I think this is one of those first moments where I was playing Fallout 3 since it was my first Fallout, and I realized that ridiculous things can happen in this world. So yes, this one is like a fond place for me.
I think that the quest was the Superhuman Gambit, and I enjoyed it thoroughly because I like superheroes, and it was just this guy that was trying to be a superhero in the wasteland. So
yeah, is that the main reason why you picked him? Because you were just like, this is awesome. This guy just has rough life.
I liked him because he had a lot of robots.
Right?
Yes. Despite most of them, I believe it's been a while, were destroyed by the Antagonizer. Mm-hmm. I do not remember a whole lot. I just remember I enjoyed his suit and everything. So
yeah, I remember stumbling upon this and being killed by the ants, I think, the first time I was in that area. And then running away. I don't think I even initiated the quest, or if I did, I left because I was like, I can't fight these ants off. At the time, I just wasn't equipped enough. And then had to come back and play it later. So let's open this up. Do you guys have any fondness for the original Mechanist and this quest line? Nunamer?
Yeah, it's funny because I have the same reaction you had, Tom, except for the opposite reason.
Oh, really?
Because, being an old school Fallout fan, having played 1 and 2, and then 3 comes out, it was early enough in the game that when I hit that quest, it was sort of when the game kind of clicked, and when it felt the most Fallout. The layers to the quest, the different perspectives, the different ways in which you can solve that quest, just the general out of nowhere wackiness of it. Everything's been relatively grounded at that point. You've been to Megaton, you've been to a couple places here and there, and then you get there, and depending on the order in which you're doing things, but you get there and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a superhero battle.
Right.
There are robots and giant ants and 2 people commanding them on each side, and you have to choose which side to go with. It's so out of nowhere that it really has those old school Fallout vibes, that weird, wacky, out of nowhere sense of humor. And so that was a moment when I got to that point in the game and I was like, yeah, this is hitting the tone. I'm really digging this, and I was bought in all the way.
Cha-ching. Yeah. Anyone else?
Keep doing this.
go ahead, Mothman, and then we'll go to Fire next.
I just wanted to say, I can never straighten out whether the Mechanist is supposed to be evil or a superhero. He's supposed to be a superhero, right?
In this one, he's a superhero because he's responding to the Antagonizer.
Well, it's also with the original quest, it's morally gray. It's sort of weird because he's causing, I don't want to give too much away because if people haven't played Fallout 3, and I know there's a lot of people that haven't, this is a great quest, and it does have a lot of variety in the way it can be solved and all that. But he's sort of causing more trouble than he's solving. His robots are causing destruction and causing issues. When you talk to the nearby town, they view him as just as much a menace as the Antagonizer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
which is kind of similar to what happens in 4 with the Mechanist, which is kind of fun.
The Mechanist wants to do good, but her robots are doing worse than good because she programmed them to have pure life. And eliminate all evil, but to do that, the robots don't justify evil, they justify humans as evil.
Right.
So she has a pure heart, but she kills.
Yeah. So very similar. Fire, did you have something?
Oh, I was going to say, it was funny when I found this one because I came to Fallout 3 later because 4 was my first. So by the time I came to 3, I'd already played through the Mechanist DLC. So coming back and then finding that was just, it was such a wonderful discovery, and it just really filled in so much of the lore for me. That was so much fun. I love that quest.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to have those kinds of discoveries backwards too. When you go, oh yeah, I get it. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool. Well, awesome. Saber, anything else you want to add to this?
Nope, I'm good. I enjoyed my superhero time.
You enjoyed your superhero time. Awesome. Well, we already did Nunimer. This thing keeps giving me numbers I've already rolled. All right, let's go to Deadshot. Deadshot. How's your Switch doing? How's your Animal Crossing? Do you have lots of little animals? Are you planting lots of flowers? I'm just going to pretend you're playing Animal Crossing.
Flowers.
It doesn't matter what you do.
Animal Crossing.
Okay, there you go. You're playing. I was just making that up, but okay.
I'm rearranging my island, but the person I want to do is Colette Cook, because it's someone who I had entirely forgotten about because I've only seen her once. She's a NPC that can show up outside of the Dugout Inn after you complete I think it's called Old World Blues, the one with Cook and Henry, where you can actually allow Henry, not Henry, what's his name? Paul? I think it is Paul Pembroke. He can take over the bar. But essentially, it's Cook's daughter. And there's a few ways that it could go. She will ask you if you know her father. And depending on how the Diamond City Blues, not Old World Blues, Diamond City Blues quest went.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
If you killed him,
New Vegas. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, if you killed him, you could try and pass a speech check, implying that he went to Good Neighbor and that he left his life of crime and dealing. If you fail it, she blames you for his murder, and I think she just becomes hostile, not like outright attacking you, but doesn't want to talk to you anymore. If he's alive, and Paul is aware of his alive, she will want revenge, so want to go to Paul and ask where it is. And then if Paul dies, there are other path forms of it, but the reason I love it so much is it's one small thing. You could pass the Dugout in 100 times, you could have done the quest ages ago, and she has a random chance of showing.
Oh, wow.
She's also one of those NPCs that you will forget about. It's she pops up, has one trait of dialogue, gone.
Yeah.
And it's not that adaptive, but it leaves such an impression depending on if you pass the speech checks or leave them.
That's cool. That's cool. I like stuff like that is missable. I don't think I did this. Let's open this up. Do you guys? Is any of the rest of you experience this? Did you have any? I'm getting some nods.
Yeah. For me, if I remember correctly, I think I ended that quest line peacefully, but I think it ended with the one guy, her father, leaving still. I can't exactly remember because it's been a good minute.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's.
I believe.
Welcome to my life. What
what
was this thing again? Oh, yes, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I think he did end up dying, but I think there was a way that I could pass speech checks to explain what happened, and then she didn't blame me, but she still didn't want to talk to me afterwards. So it was kind of honest in a way that didn't end it badly, but it didn't end it good either. Right.
Yeah, I love those gray areas in the middle.
Yeah, and I really liked that ending. I thought it was probably how a non-psychotic soul survivor would have ended it.
Okay. Anyone else? Anyone else want to chime in with thoughts? No? All right. Deadshot? Anything else to wrap this one up? Nope. I'm getting a shake of the head. Man, if you guys are listening on audio, you're missing out on a lot of head movements. So that's a real. If you want to catch all the head movements, then make sure you check out this video up on the Robots Radio YouTube after we're done here. All right. Well, here, tell you what, we've got a few more people to go through, but before that, let's just do our little middle break thing, and so we'll be back just after this. And the way I set up the audio on this is meant for regular episodes. So here's the actual transition.
Hello there, old chap. Good to see another of General Atomic's finest, still eager to serve.
Just rolling with it, you know. So welcome to the middle of the show, and thank you to all of our patrons, not just our Tier 4 patrons, but thank you especially to our Tier 4 patrons, and welcome again. I'm glad you guys are all here. If you would like to join us on next month's episode, then you can check out patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast, the Fallout Lorecast, and you can look at all the different ways you could support the show and join us if you are a Tier 4 or higher patron in the future. Otherwise, you can get ad-free episodes and stuff like that. There's also something I want to make sure that you guys are aware of. After our regular episodes, from this point moving forward, which are usually live on twitch.tv/robotsradio on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern to 6 p.m. Pacific, I will be having what I'm going to call office hours, and this will be after every regular weeknight show throughout the week. So Mondays are Fallout, Wednesdays are Dungeons and Dragons, Thursdays Elder Scrolls, and Saturdays Cyberpunk. And it doesn't have to be specific to the show. What I'm doing is I'm trying to get back to you guys. And so after our actual show recordings, I will be hanging out with you guys, the community, anybody who comes by. And I know a number of you guys are interested in doing your own podcasts, streaming games online, doing videos, and I've got some experience on that stuff, and I would love to answer questions and help you guys out with that stuff. So if you decide to come by for the show or after the show for office hours, then you're welcome to hang out for that. And if nobody shows up, then I'll probably just be playing games like normal, and we can chat while I'm playing games or whatever. So that'll be a lot of fun. Also, we have our regular sponsors for the Robots Radio shows, which includes audiobooks.com, which I think is our probably our best deal, because for free you can get 3 audiobooks, including 2 VIP books from audiobooks.com to listen to wherever you are, whether you're working out or at work or driving in your car or whatever. So go check that out. It's a super good deal. You can check the link, check for the link in the show notes, and all you have to do is click that and you sign up and you get 3 audiobooks for free, and you don't even have to pay anything. So super awesome deal. Go check that out. All right, let's move on to the rest of the show.
If you have any questions about Nuka World, I'd be delighted to answer them.
So we are back, and let's see, who did we get here? We got Firewriter number 2 in my little generator number came up. How's it going? What are you talking about today?
Well, we've talked about ghouls and we've talked about superheroes. So I'm going to merge the two and talk about Kent Connolly. And I had to debate a little bit too, because like Ranger said, I was torn between talking about this guy and Arlen, because Arlen is pretty cool, but I did decide to go with Kent. And I've mentioned him before. We talked about him when we talked about our favorite quests, since he gives you the Silver Shroud quest. So Kent Connolly is a pre-war ghoul and good neighbor. He lives in the Memory Den. He's an avid comic book fan, especially for the Silver Shroud and Mistress of Mystery. He runs the Silver Shroud radio station, which plays old radio programs throughout the Commonwealth. One thing that's interesting and unique about him is that he doesn't have the typical ghoul voice. He sounds more like a radio guy. And according to the wiki, he has listened to all 420 episodes of the Silver Shroud and the Mistress of Mystery serials and has an encyclopedic knowledge of their details. And something else that I think is kind of cool about him is that he himself has an alliterative superhero name, Kent Connolly, in the same vein as Clark Kent or Peter Parker or Bruce Banner.
Yeah, it's so very typical, nice traditional touch. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So he's mostly based in Fallout 4, but we also see him in Fallout kind of he has a cameo role in 76 where it turns out that he provided a lot of inspiration and ideas for the Lair of Mysteries, Order of Mysteries lair beneath the Rivers Mansion. And according to the wiki, he didn't actually know that he was helping to build the lair, which I didn't quite put together, but I thought that was really interesting. But his suggestions allowed them to create the Veil of Mysteries, which my character uses entirely when he's in the ash heap in honor of him.
Nice.
And also the Phantom Device. But in 2287, he spends all his time in the memory den, generally bouncing between a memory lounger and a station. He also helps maintain the loungers in exchange for time in the loungers. And if you look at Irma's monitor in the memory den, there's her entry for Kent is really insightful and a little sad. And do you mind if I read that to you real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. She says, all of his memories are about that Silver Shroud radio show he's always going on about. That reminds me, I keep telling him to keep all of his posters and toys inside his room. They always seem to spill out into the main floor. Poor Kent. People may gossip about the den taking advantage of him, but the truth is he's our biggest charity case. If I lived to be over 200, I know I'd be tired of the real world too. What's the harm in letting him dream a little longer than the next fella? Amari put in some safety settings into his memory lounger so he doesn't starve himself to death. As far as I'm concerned, if he wants to live out the rest of his days plugged in and occasionally waking up to eat and stare at his poster collection, that's his choice. So the reason why I picked Kent is that there's two different things, kind of. The first thing is that, in a way, Kent feels like family to me. I come from a very long line of comic book and other media nerds. My uncle is actually a comic historian and has literally written books on comics.
Oh, that's awesome.
So he feels like he fits right in. You know, it's like, I get this guy. I know this guy. I know plenty of guys just like him. The other thing that, and I think this part really jumped out to me when I was going through and reading the entry on the terminal, is that I really understand and relate to Kent's desire to escape into a piece of media that he loves. And I'm betting that most of us here and most of us listening might have some insight into that too. Maybe that's kind of the reason that we're all here. We all love one particular piece of media. So I was thinking to myself, you know, maybe at this point right now, with the way things are, maybe I do play maybe a little more than I should. But with as fragile and frightening as the world feels right now, I'd rather escape into a wasteland that I can control. So to paraphrase Irma, what's the harm in letting me dream a little longer? Yeah, well, hey, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I think that, and I think this has been a place of fiction and video games and those kinds of things for a long time, is that they're a place of refuge. Side note, how many of you guys have seen the Lovecraft County show on HBO? Have you guys watched this? Super weird, really cool. It's set in the 1950s. It follows a cast of African-American people dealing with racism and also super creepy stuff that keeps happening to them, which is this wonderful dynamic. But one of them, the main character, I believe you can consider him the main character, is an avid reader. And in the most recent episode, he talks about how reading has been his escape into a world that he feels accepted and that kind of thing. So, I think that that's something that a lot of us can relate to. Anybody else want to chime in on this? I especially love the comic book side of all of that too. Go ahead.
That hit me hard. I identify that with that so hard. I'm a huge reader and I'm a huge gamer, and it's been my crutch the last good few years since I started gaming and reading as much as I do. just because, well, it's hard being a teenager. Just say that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we all go through it, so we've been there. Yeah. Anyone else?
I was just going to say that I, as well, deeply empathize with Kent Connolly. I've been noticing, especially in the current times, I'm noticing that even as I, try to put up, we're all trying to do our best with it. We're all stuck in a very scary situation. And I totally get what you mean. What you said as well, Fire, is like putting yourself, even if it is a wasteland you can control, and finding something to hold on to, be it real or fictional. And honestly, I would probably say this links in a little bit more into the character I'll probably be talking about. But when we're talking about ghouls, there's always that shadow of feral following them. And it's been proven that the only ones who stay sane either are incredibly strong-willed or have a very strong purpose, will, want for something. And so it's entirely possible that Kent Connolly's intense, deep, all-consuming love of comics and all of the radio dramas are what's keeping him from going to the feral side.
Possibly,
and that feels a bit like a metaphor to me of, when I've been in some of my worst pain and depression episodes, I've fallen back into video games, or more commonly for me, really, books, just to hold on to something that isn't whatever the bad around me is. I'm able to fall back into that. And if, he's in a wasteland. And people die for no good reason, and being able to read comics or listen to audio dramas where the good guys win and the bad guys lose. I mean, my mom does a similar thing. She watches action movies to relax because she always knows the good guys win
right.
and the bad guys will lose.
Right.
Explosions.
Explosions are good too. Everybody likes a good explosion.
Explosions. But I think anybody who is in any kind of fandom, so basically any of our listeners here, or your listeners here, I should say, can understand falling back into fandom when real life becomes too much. And I think that's something that is deeply empathetic. Yeah,
totally.
You know what? I think we're overthinking this and going a little too deep. I think that he is clearly a metaphor for podcasters because he's a podcaster's dream. See, he theoretically could live forever, keep his mind, but also have that nice voice. He's got to have that good podcasting radio voice because, ghoul radio, ghoul podcasting we all love ghouls, but, might be a little rough. So, he's really the podcaster dream.
It's all the microphone. It's not actually the real voice. It's just the microphone. Like, here, I'll turn off the microphone. Hi, guys. See, I just turned the microphone back on. It's a filter. That's what does it. That was a terrible joke. All right. Fire, do you want to mention anything else?
No, just... I had a hard time picking which ghoul.
Yeah, there's so many.
So many.
Awesome. Well, let's move on. I rolled the next number. Let's see. It is a 7, and that means Victor. Victor, you're up.
All right. So I also picked a ghoul, to the shock and surprise of absolutely everyone.
A ghoul.
Ghoul. I picked Oswald Oppenheimer, also known as Oswald the Outrageous, the king of Kitty Kingdom within Nuka World.
Okay, yes.
I say king, but he's more like a protector kind of guy. But I picked him.
Well, it is a kingdom, reasons. So yeah, it makes sense. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I picked him for a couple of reasons. One of the more subtle ones that people may not notice, unless you're a gigantic musicals nerd like I am, is there are some very strong vibes and allegory to Phantom of the Opera as you're going through Katy Kingdom and interacting with him, because he's constantly speaking to you through the speakers And he's making himself mysterious. And I mean, even in the final boss fight, whether or not you actually kill him or go up or not, he disappears himself in a flash of smoke. And he's wearing he's wearing a magician's suit and top hat. And he's also a ghoul, so his face is deformed, which is also very Phantom of the Opera. However, as you keep going through and you get unique ghouls in Kitty Kingdom, which are painted ghouls, which actually Oswald himself paints them to try to kind of bring back some of their humanity, because it broke my heart once you started to realize it, but every single ghoul you kill in Kitty Kingdom is one of his former co-workers.
Right, yeah.
And so what happened was bombs dropped, and in multiple different parts of Nuka World, actually, because I was rewatching some other stuff, and Galactic Zone also had kind of a Hail Mary plan, is the employees got together to have some sort of, well, if the bombs go off while we're at work, what are we going to do? And so they hunker down and they do their best, and then the first rad storms hit a couple months after the bombs fall. And everyone gets really sick. About 27 of them die. And the rest of them become ghouls. And they live for about 200 years before the first one goes feral. And they don't understand what that is. They don't understand what the whole feralness is. They call it the affliction, and they think there's a cure. And so they keep all of these ghouls around because they're their friends, their coworkers, their boyfriends in some situations, hoping to find a cure for them. And eventually Oswald gets the powers of a glowing one, and he can literally raise the dead. And so it gets to the point where they realize that it was basically just himself, Rachel, and maybe one or two others who are not feral. And Rachel says, I'm going to go out and find a cure, because she's actually like an organic chemist or something like that. She was actually trying to get with the Beveragiers, but ended up in Kitty Kingdom. And so he holds down the fort for decades, absolute decades. The entire time you go through this, he's trying to scare you off or kill you because you're killing his friends, and he just wants to protect them until his girlfriend gets back. And one of the best / easiest ways to end that entire quest peacefully, because you end up getting called into the theater, and he does this big performance, and he actually you see dead ghouls all around, and he raises them alive because he's a glowing one. And eventually you finish that fight, and he's like, meet me on the roof, and you can start talking to him. In the course of that conversation, you can give him a holotape from Rachel, and it's her goodbye to him, because she's starting to go feral. And she tells him to keep on, leave Kitty Kingdom, make a life. And it's honestly the only other holotape I know of that's just about as heartbreaking in Fallout 4 is the Marlene Glass holotape that you give to Arlen Glass, where she's begging for Daddy to just come home and stop working for a day. Like, it's so incredibly heart-wrenching. And you can tell with Oswald, he is someone who cares very deeply for his coworkers, who become his friends, who become his family. And in the end, despite all that he's put you through, he's a good man. And his reasons for doing it were good. And I find him absolutely fascinating as a character, and of course the references to my favorite musical don't hurt, but he's a well-written character. He's tragic, but not totally listless. If you manage to keep him alive, right, he does himself and choose to, well, I'm going to at least try to find a cure or find somewhere safe for me and my friends to go. And he literally disappears in a puff of smoke again.
Yes, I love that he just keeps poofing, like he's actually a magician who could just poof. I specifically remember this and getting that good ending, quote unquote. Do you guys have memories of this? I'm sure a lot of you probably do. This was a big part of Nuka World. Anybody else have any comments on this one?
This and the Arlen Glass questline, along with several others, but these are the ones that kind of like made me, while I was playing, stop and think.
Uh-huh.
Like, just about what it meant, kind of. Like, what it made me feel, kind of thing. Like, where I had to, like, stop and I just had to I just had to go through everything again in my head.
Right.
And think about the implications of some of the stuff. And then it made me want to replay that part of Nuka World again. Nuka World again. Because when I played it, like a fool, well, not really a fool because I didn't know, but I didn't find Rachel's body in the holotape. So when I got to that end part, I was desperately trying to save him because I was like, "You're an amazing ghoul. You got these glowing one powers, and you're probably the only glowing one who's still sane besides the one in New Vegas." But and I was trying to save him desperately, but I ended up failing the final speech check because I didn't have a high enough charisma and I didn't have the holotape, and I had to kill him, and it broke my heart. I did not want to kill him. I contemplated just leaving Kitty Kingdom and just not returning because I didn't want to kill him. But then I wanted to progress the quest line, so I was like, no.
Sure.
I did it with when he was like the last hit left, I charged up to him with my shotgun with the bayonet and closed my eyes as I bashed him to kill him the final time. I was like, I'm not watching. I was like, I mustn't watch this.
Yeah, it's tough when you don't have the thing that you need in order to get the ending that you want, and so you just gotta do what you gotta do. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Just wanted to co-sign on the Phantom of the Opera fandom, because I love Phantom as well. And I definitely noticed that playing through that quest. You really get those vibes from it, and it has that whole quest has a lot of really cool references to different things, like the Wizard of Oz, or even his name itself of Oppenheimer being a reference to J. Robert Oppenheimer, obviously. So there's lots of really good Easter eggs and stuff in that quest. It's making me want to replay Nuka World now.
Yeah,
I feel sacrilegious for saying I've never seen or watched Phantom of the Opera. After hearing
also
you guys
never
talk about
seen or watched it.
Yeah, check it out sometime. It's
You're
a classic.
young, you make mistakes. It's okay.
It's a classic,
Haha.
My whole thing with that quest line is I kill him no matter what, because the way I play my characters, or at least the way I did the few times I've done the quest, I've seen him as more of a danger than anything else, especially since he's willing to risk other people's lives and possibly harm other people. So there's few times that I've mercy killed him, like tried to talk him out and then see, but sometimes I literally just wait until I have the perfect shot and snipe him, just because it's easy. And it's just kind of my way of playing the game. I kill anything that I deem a danger to my character or whatever I'm playing as.
Fair enough. I'm sure you just broke some people's hearts, but we've all got to make our decisions.
Oh, look, Nick mad enough to leave. Come on.
Oh no, he left. All right. Well, let's move on to our last one. Soybean, I think you're rounding this out for this episode. What's your topic for today?
There we go. So my character that I've chosen is Grahm, or Grahm, however you pronounce it, from Fallout 76. I chose him because he definitely stuck out a lot to me. Definitely as, one of the few intelligent supermutants that are still around. And, it was one of those things when, 76 first came out, pre-Wastelanders, and people were like, well, Fallout 76 has no NPCs. And I would look at Grahm and be like, well, that's an NPC. He is a good boy.
He's a good boy.
Grahm is a good boy. So I really like him because even before they kind of gave him more stuff with Meat Week, finding him was always a joy when he was just making his rounds around the Appalachia. And his lines are always very simple. The way he cares for Charlie the Moo Moo, his pack ramen, is very sweet. I remember when the first Fosnot event came out, that they allowed Brahmin to be milked, so you could get Brahmin milk. And I milked Charlie, and I got Charlie's milk, and it felt almost wrong because of the way Grahm talks about Charlie. It's very personified, or like almost like his pet or something. It felt weird to just be like, "Hi, Grahm. Sorry, excuse me."
Excuse me.
But
I need to do this right now. Pardon me.
Yes.
Thank you, Charlie.
And then with Meat Week, it feels like every time I go do a Meat Week event, he says something new that I haven't heard, and I really enjoy it because they gave him a lot to say. One of my favorite lines is like, "Oh, I know not all humans eat meat," and like, while that might confuse me, I'm paraphrasing here. Charlie doesn't eat meat either, and I like Charlie, so you're okay.
Right.
And
yeah.
As a vegetarian, it's like, oh, I'm being seen. Grahm is seeing me. Thank you. But it's really cute. That, and like, even like Grahm understanding like, oh, we need to keep things clean because I don't want you guys getting sick. Make sure you clean up. Like he cares about everyone who's coming and visiting.
Yeah.
So yeah, Grahm best boy.
Grahm best boy. Yeah, it's pretty cute. I love the quirky super mutants in these things. Another reason why we need to be able to play super mutants, Bethesda. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Anybody else have any thoughts on Grahm? Unimer?
Only if I'm allowed to call him Graham, Grahm.
Yeah, that's fine. You can call him Graham.
But yeah, I remember early in the game when he was the thing of legend, because he was so hard to find, and he's become a lot easier to find, and obviously Meat Week and stuff has made it that you can just see him with the hourly event and all that. But I spent at least a few hours one day. I found a map online that was his trail, his trading route, and I just followed that. I went in one direction, went in the other direction, just kept going around in a circle through this route trying to find him, and just couldn't find him. Now, even before the updates, the place where I moved my most recent camp is right on his route, so I see him all the time.
So he's like your neighbor. He comes by and he's like, "Can I borrow some sugar?"
He usually asks for human flesh, but
okay, all right.
He also helps defend my camp. So it's pretty awesome because whenever something attacks my camp and he's wandering by, all of a sudden I have a super mutant on my side and my companion at the camp, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, he's really cool. And I remember back when the vending was all different too, finding him was sometimes kind of important too, because some of the plans and some of the things you could get from him was certainly helpful. But it's really cool. I always like a good super mutant. It's a lot of fun. It gives me flashbacks to one of my favorite companions, Lily, that we were talking about before. But but yeah, he's a sweet, nice, kind super mutant, and I love him. He's great.
Good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. Anyone else?
As Fire said in the Twitch chat, every time the gang is playing 76 on PlayStation and one of us comes across Grahm, the entire party chat drops what they're doing and goes, "Graham's here!" Because Graham's the best. He's my favorite. He's my favorite non-story related character to come across.
Awesome stuff. Well, that's a good one, Soybean. Anything else you want to add? Oh, Soybean's gone. I didn't even notice. Soybean? Are you still?
Hello,
oh, there
sorry.
You are. Yeah.
My phone was dying, so I had to get its charging situation fixed up.
Technology.
Yes, technology. I'd say, the other thing I do like a lot is that they gave him specific things that only he sells. They can't find any other vendors, including the mirror ball, which is fun. Grahm likes to disco. But so it definitely makes him worth seeking out, and that's why people like him a lot,
Yeah, Super Mutant Dance Party. Sweet. Awesome.
I just had kind of a random thought because somebody said something in the chat. They were like, Grahm and Lily should have a date, and I'm sitting here like, wait a minute, is Grahm the type of super mutant that would become a behemoth if he lived that long?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think that was specific to the Capital Wasteland, wasn't it?
Craig's gone.
But I don't know. All right. Well, this has been fun. Victor, I know you kind of fell off the chat there right before we kind of finished it up with yours. Did you want it to finish? Did you want to add anything else on yours before we go?
Not anything in particular, except for the just with the Lily comment. I think that it'd be amusing to see, because isn't Lily Nightkin as well?
I believe so. Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see a Nightkin behemoth relationship and see how that would work out.
I don't know how any super mutant relationships work, but I mean, who knows? It could be a thing. I don't know. Like they don't communicate very clearly. Like that's kind of the thing, right? Like if you're a ghoul or a human or even a synth, you got that, like, you can communicate, you can learn to adjust. But like two super mutants, like, where you put the human flesh, you take my human flesh. I don't take your human flesh. You snore too loud. Like how do they resolve these like relational conflicts? I don't know. Anyway, all right. Well, on that note, let's wrap up the episode. Thank you all for being here, and as always, thank you for supporting the show. I really do appreciate it. Hey, there's Soybean's back. So tomorrow night, normally on Monday nights, we would do the Fallout Lorecast, but since we did it on Sunday night, tomorrow night is actually the Dungeons & Dragons Lorecast, which is fun because Stuart can't do it on Wednesday, so kind of moving some stuff around. But definitely, if you guys are interested in taking me up on some of my office hours, please tune in for those after episodes starting this week, and come hang out with me. I've got all sorts of answers to questions, and I'm happy to help you guys get started, and Nunimer has an awesome wig. So we're just going to end it on Nunimer's wig. Thank you again, everybody, for chiming in, and feel free to stick around. I'm going to be jumping into Fallout 76 after the show, so I'll be playing, and if you guys want to jump in the game with me, I'm on a PC. You're welcome to do that as well. And thank you to all of our people in the live chat. Thank you for being here. It's good to have you guys, and thank you for any of the subscriptions and hostings and new follows. All of those things are very appreciated. So thanks, everyone. I think that's it. Does anybody else have anything to add before we go? Does anybody want to do any call-outs or ways to get a hold of you?
Can it be related to Neo's wig?
Sure.
He looks like some aged boy band member.
Yes, that is a very...
And it doesn't look bad, to be honest.
Yeah, I used to be in a Fallout themed boy band. Actually, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
were you like Neo and the Rippers or something?
Was it called Fallout Boy?
No. You know. I've talked to you about Fallout Boy. Don't get started with Fallout Boy. No. That we were the tunnel trouser snakes, but it was kind of immature. But
wow,
we were a little blue.
Wow. All right.
The wig just makes you look like an older off-brand Deku from My Hero Academia. That's what I thought.
And I'm saying that with the Sokka haircut from Avatar. You look like Deku, but like 30 years old.
I'm just Sam Winchester from Supernatural in the later seasons with my haircut. That is legit what it looks like. My family tells me that I should have dressed up as Sam Winchester for Halloween this year, but I'm just like,
I can't see because you're not on camera.
That is true. I apologize for this, viewers.
We'll just have to imagine. We'll just picture it in our heads. All right, guys. Does anybody want to leave a little note for how people can get a hold of you? You can reach all of us on the Robots Radio Discord, so that's the easy way to get a hold. Anyone else want to talk about your Twitter or any other accounts or things you guys are doing? Just chime in. Everyone just chime in all at the same time. Fire, I see that you are unmuted. Go ahead and start.
Sure. I'm Firewriter on all over the place, on PS4, on Twitter, on Instagram, on Twitch. It's Fire with a Y.
Awesome. And you've been doing some VR on Twitch as well.
I have Tuesdays at 7:30 PM Pacific.
Cool. Anyone else?
Well, I haven't been streaming much lately just because it's the end of the month. My internet kind of dips at the end of the month. But I stream occasionally at twitch.tv/the Mothman's Ranger. And the only social media platform I'm on is on Discord. And you will usually find me in the Discord acting like a mod, even though I am not. So
yeah, Muppets Rangers pretty active all day long. I don't know if you do anything else. I just imagined that you're just on Discord all day long. That's like your job.
Throughout school, I'm constantly checking Discord.
Oh, school, right.
That's why I'm not as much as active as I have been during the summer months.
Ah, cool. All right. Anyone else?
Pretty much only Discord, but me and Ranger did set up a Dauntless Guild and a Rocket League group. If you want to get into that and play with us sometime, you can just add us in all games or something.
Yeah, just jump in the Discord,
people.
Go to the All Games channel and just chime in and say, hey, I heard there's a Dauntless or Rocket League guild. How do I join?
And I'm pretty much active 24/7 because I don't have a life.
Well, there you go. Anyone else? All right. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. And until next time, I guess I don't have a good quip for the end of this. Be friends to ghouls because ghouls and super mutants are people too. Oh, talk to you guys later.
Always start a Fallout themed boy band.
And start a Fallout themed boy band because Nunimer will be your manager. He has a lot of experience with this. Here we go. All right. Have a good night, everybody. See you guys next time. To plug into everything else we're doing, check out robotsradio.net. Also, look up the Robots Radio YouTube for videos about Fallout and other things. And check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/robotsradio. This podcast was brought to you in part by our patrons at patreon.com/Fallout Lorecast, including our Tier 5 patrons. Thank you so much to Firewriter for supporting the show. Also, if you're interested in business inquiries, advertising on the show, or applying to be a podcast on the Robots Radio Network, send me a message at falloutlorecast@gmail.com or robotsnetwork@gmail.com.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.